Kemi's heart was overflowing with joy as she looked at the letter again, the one that had promised her a spot at the best university in the city. After years of hard work and sacrifice, her dreams were finally taking shape, and she couldn't wait to start this new journey, far from the home that had become her prison. Her father was so proud of her. He celebrated her success, smiling as he called her his bright star. But while her father's eyes shone with pride, her stepmother, Biola, wore a frown that grew deeper each day. Biola couldn't bear the thought of Kemi achieving something so great. She was angry and she wanted Kemi to feel it. Every day, Biola found new ways to crush Kemi's spirit. If Kemi cleaned the house or cooked food, Biola would sneer, "Oh, foolish girl, now that you have a scholarship, you think you are better than everyone? It seems you've lost all your common sense." Even if Kemi did everything perfectly, Biola would find something wrong, making her feel like nothing she did was ever good enough. Sometimes, Biola would roll her eyes and mutter, "Just because of a little scholarship. Now we are all supposed to stop breathing? You really think you're someone special? Don't you?" Her words cut deep, but Kemi stayed quiet, holding back her tears, determined to hold on till she could finally escape to the university. But it wasn't only Biola. Kemi's stepsister Itunu had grown colder and meaner with each passing day. Biola's bitter words had planted seeds of jealousy and resentment in her, and now those seeds had grown into a strong and kind vine. Itunu followed her mother's lead, treating Kemi with open disrespect. One evening, while Kemi got up from the dinner table to go to the restroom, Itunu seized the chance to sprinkle handfuls of salt into Kemi's soup, grinning as she stirred it in. When Kemi returned, she sat down eagerly, ready to enjoy her meal. But the moment she took a bite, her mouth filled with a sharp, stingy taste of salt. She quickly spat it out, her eyes watering, while Itunu snickered nearby, pleased with herself. Kemi couldn't eat that night. She went to bed with her empty stomach, feeling the ache of hunger along with the weight of sadness. She thought about telling Biola what Itunu had done, but she knew better. Whenever she tried to speak, Biola only mocked her even more. "Is it because of this scholarship that you think you can oppress my daughter?" she would say, eyes flashing. "Just wait, my Itunu will get her own scholarship too, and she will study abroad, far better than anything you could ever achieve." Kemi felt the anger building inside her, but she knew better than to show it. She had endured Biola's scorn and Itunu's cruelty for so many years, and soon she would be free from it all. She lay in bed that night, her heart filled with both pain and a glimmer of hope. She was strong, and she knew that her patience would pay off. Soon, her journey would begin, one that would take her far from this place and bring her closer to the dreams she'd clung to for so long. And when that day came, she had big plans that would show everyone just how strong she really was. As the sun rose on Kemi's resumption day, she felt her heart pounding with excitement. Not only was she about to begin a new chapter in her life at the best university in the city, but she was also leaving behind the painful memories of her stepmother's cruel treatment. She carefully packed her bags, savoring each moment, knowing that freedom was just around the corner. Biola watched with bitterness, her face tight with anger as she muttered under her breath, wishing it was her own daughter, Itunu, leaving for the university or scholarship. But no amount of scorn or jealousy could take away Kemi's happiness. Her father followed her to the park, smiling with pride as he looked at his daughter, his great champion. "Kemi," he said, his voice soft but serious, "be a good girl in school. Focus on your studies and never forget who you are. I know you are strong, but stay even stronger." Kemi felt a pang of surprise at his words. She wondered how her father, who had always stood by silently while Biola treated her so poorly, could talk to her about strength now. Sensing her confusion, her father added gently, You think I don't see everything you went through with your stepmother? I saw it all, but I wanted you to grow strong. You see, life is full of challenges, Kemi. It's best to learn resilience early so you are ready for whatever lies ahead. Kemi nodded, understanding for the first time the weight of his words. She hugged him tightly and waved as the bus pulled out of the station. The campus was everything Kemi had dreamed of. The buildings were tall and grand, and the garden was full of bright flowers she had only seen in pictures. When she arrived at the student hall, a group of welcoming students greeted her warmly, handing her a packet with maps, guides, and schedules. She met her new roommate, a cheerful girl named Ada, who was as excited as Kemi to be starting the medical program. Kemi had chosen to study medicine, a dream she had nurtured for years. A scholarship covered everything: tuition, books, even her meals. She felt a new sense of peace, knowing she lacked nothing. And for the first time in her life, her only focus was her studies. She poured herself into her coursework, determined to make the most of this precious opportunity. Each day, she read ahead, took notes, and reviewed each lecture as if the next day were an exam. When her first semester results came, Kemi had done exceptionally well. Some senior students told her that the best way to secure a high GPA was to maintain excellent grades right from the first year. Taking their advice to heart, Kemi doubled her effort. She researched every course, lived in the library, and stayed focused, leaving little room for distractions. She made very few friends as she was devoted to her studies, and soon enough, her professors began to notice her dedication and sharp intelligence. By the end of her third year, Kemi's reputation as a hard-working and compassionate student had grown. One day, during a tough lecture, a professor asked a challenging question about diagnosing a rare disease. Kemi raised her hand, answering thoughtfully and carefully, and her professor nodded approvingly. "Well done, Kemi. You have the makings of an excellent doctor," he said. The pride in his voice made her glow inside, fueling her drive to work even harder. After 6 years of intense study, Kemi graduated with a first-class degree in medicine. Her name echoed through the graduation hall as she was celebrated as the best graduating student, with applause filling the air. She stood on stage, dressed in her graduation gown, her face beaming with pride as she held her diploma. Her professors, classmates, and even some university officials congratulated her, speaking highly of her brilliance and perseverance. Shortly after, Kemi completed her housemanship and then her National Youth Service Corps NYSC year, and she was overjoyed to learn she was being offered a sponsorship for her master's degree abroad. All her dreams were finally within reach, but just as she was preparing for her departure, a letter arrived. It was a notice of cancellation, stating that her sponsorship had been withdrawn with no explanation. Heartbroken, Kemi felt the weight of her dreams slipping away. She cried for days, unable to understand why this misfortune had befallen her. Determined not to give up, she started searching online for new sponsorships. Though she received multiple offers, each one fell through, with the same mysterious cancellations following every approval. It was as if an invisible hand was blocking every path of her success. With her dreams on hold, Kemi turned her attention to finding work to sustain herself, but every job interview ended the same way. The interviewers praised her knowledge and skill, promising to get back to her, but no offer ever came. Weeks turned to months, and Kemi's hope began to waver. She couldn't understand why her efforts kept meeting invisible walls. Back in the village, things weren't as bright. Itunu had done well in her exams, but despite her mother's high hopes, hadn't received any scholarships. She struggled to gain admission to the university. With each setback, Itunu grew more frustrated. She grew despondent, losing respect for her mother and herself. She spent her days idling with a group of local boys, her once promising future fading with each passing day. Biola was devastated, watching helplessly as her daughter's life unraveled. She had thought favoring Itunu and pushing Kemi aside would lead to a brighter future for her own daughter. But now, seeing Itunu's reckless choices and disrespect, she felt a pang of regret for the way she had treated Kemi all those years. Kemi lay awake that night. She felt the pain of disappointment, but also the burning resolve to find a way out of her trouble. She remembered her father's words, the ones that had stayed with her. Be strong, but stay stronger. Her journey had been far from easy, but Kemi knew she couldn't give up. She would find a way forward, no matter how many doors closed in her face. The days dragged by with a sense of hopelessness for Kemi. Despite her hard work, her relentless search for sponsorships kept ending in disappointment. She began to wonder if her bad luck ran deeper than she realized. She had watched several Nollywood movies that hinted at the supernatural. She began to feel as though her struggles were not just a string of unfortunate events, but possibly tied to something darker, a curse or a spiritual blockade. There seemed no other explanation for the way doors repeatedly shut in her face. One afternoon, while walking through the city streets, feeling dejected and lost, a group of young people handed her a flyer. It was an invitation to a church program happening that Sunday, titled Breaking Invisible Chains. Something stirred within her, a spark of hope, urging her to attend the service. That Sunday, Kemi entered the church, her heart heavy but hopeful. She joined in the prayers, closing her eyes and pouring all her emotions into each word. The pastor's sermon was powerful, speaking about faith and the unseen forces that can bind a person's destiny. Towards the end of the service, the pastor began making declarations, proclaiming freedom and breakthrough for everyone facing hardship. With her heart pounding, Kemi said a loud amen, feeling as though the words were meant just for her. As the service ended, Kemi was guided, along with other first-time attendees, to a small room for a special prayer session. She prayed with fervor, whispering her hopes and dreams, her struggles and fears, as if her entire life depended on that moment. When the session ended, she turned to leave, but the pastor called her aside. He looked at her with a gentle, knowing expression, as though he could see into her heart. Then, as if he had known her all her life, he began to describe her struggles. "Young lady," he began softly, "I see you've been facing many disappointments. You've lost opportunities, and each door that opens quickly shuts. But today, congratulations, you have been set free." Kemi's heart skipped a beat as he continued. "Years ago, when you were just a little girl, your stepmother visited a spiritualist to exchange your destiny for her daughter's. She wanted her daughter to have your gifts and blessings, leaving you with hardship instead. That's why you've struggled all these years. But today, I declare that your destiny is restored." He prayed over her, speaking words of peace, and gently advised her, "Forgive those who wronged you. Don't hold on to bitterness, and trust that your life will begin to change." Kemi left the church with a lightness in her heart that she hadn't felt in years. In the days that followed, she felt renewed, as though an invisible weight had lifted. Just 2 weeks later, she received an email that took her breath away. It was from one of the institutions that had previously cancelled her sponsorship. They were reaching out to reinstate her scholarship. And then, more letters followed. Opportunities poured in, and it was as if her luck had completely turned around. She felt overwhelmed with gratitude and hope, finally able to choose her top university to pursue her master's degree abroad. Before leaving, Kemi decided to visit her hometown to bid her father goodbye. The moment she arrived, the first sight that greeted her was Itunu, sitting outside with a swollen belly. Kemi's heart gave a small pang of sadness, though she couldn't help but let out a short laugh at the irony. Itunu, who had once mocked her, was now facing her own hardships. Noticing her stepsister's laughter, Itunu quickly ran inside, her face red with embarrassment. Biola, watching from the doorway, was stunned to see Kemi. She looked visibly aged and defeated. Her eyes held a mix of shame and regret as she greeted Kemi, who responded with a gentle smile, showing none of the resentment Biola had expected. Inside, Kemi found her father. The sight of him brought tears to her eyes, and they embraced tightly, both feeling the weight of the years they had spent apart. She shared the joyful news of her scholarship and upcoming travel, and they celebrated her achievements together. But as Biola overheard their conversation, her heart ached with regret. She had spent so much of her life trying to suppress Kemi's light, only to watch her own daughter struggle. She slowly approached Kemi, her voice low and hesitant. I'm sorry, Kemi. I know I hurt you deeply, she said, her voice thick with emotion. Everything I did was out of jealousy and insecurity. I thought it would give Itunu a better life, but now I see it only brought pain. Please, if you can find it in your heart, forgive me. Kemi looked at Biola with kindness and simply nodded. I forgave you long ago, Mama Itunu, she said softly, her words bringing tears to Biola's eyes. Itunu, still too ashamed to look Kemi in the eyes, stayed hidden in her room. But Kemi sought her out, speaking gently. She encouraged her stepsister, advising her to return to school once she had her baby, promising her that a fresh start was still possible. Kemi spent a few more days at home, sharing moments with her family and basking in the warmth of her father's pride. When she returned to the city, she felt ready for the next chapter. A few months later, she boarded a plane and flew abroad to begin her master's degree. Her studies went smoothly, and her achievements earned her praise and respect. After graduating with honors, she secured a well-paying job that allowed her to build a stable, fulfilling life. She often sent money back home, ensuring her father's comfort and well-being. Back in the village, Itunu's life took a turn. After the birth of her son, she finally gained admission to a university, a second chance that allowed her to reshape her future. Though her journey was far from easy, she found a new sense of purpose and drive, reflecting on the lessons Kemi had taught her. Biola, humbled and remorseful, spent her days quietly, grateful for Kemi's forgiveness and the blessings that had begun to unfold in her daughter's life. As Kemi looked out at the bright future before her, she felt a deep sense of peace. Life had brought her trials, heartbreak, and moments of doubt, but she had overcome them all, emerging stronger and wiser. Her story was one of resilience, forgiveness, and faith, a journey from hardship to hope. And as she moved forward, she carried with her the lessons of her past, grateful for every step that had led her to a life fulfilled and a heart at peace. If you enjoyed this story, I'm very sure you enjoy the next one. Click to watch now. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.